Remember, I'm like, I told you that I was like jealous. I was jealous of you because I was
mad at me for no reason.
I got mad and you're like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm jealous and I'm starting to resent you. And you're like, why? I was like, because you have time. You have time. You have time.
So Brandon hit record. Here we go. Who would have thought that we would be sitting here on our makeshift kitchen table where awesome conversation has happened throughout our marriage? We'd be sitting here together having a conversation. 2 years ago when God set the vision on my heart for this moment to happen.
This moment podcast?
Yeah, or us working together.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that when I first told you?
I said never. We were actually we were in Clint's office, counselor's office.
I thought there was a time before that.
Where you told me and I said no. And then at that time, I think you wanted to shed a different kind of light. And I still said, no, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to stop working.
I remember that because I told you, I was like, man, God set this vision on my heart.
It was actually a fight.
Well, first it was the vision that God set on my heart for the book. And then you made fun of me because you told me I can't spell, which is true. I cannot spell. That's a fun fact. I can't spell, but physics, math, all day long. Grammarly, there you go.
It was just far-fetched because you don't even like to read. So I just thought
at the time I didn't like to read.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, I brought it to the forefront that I really felt that we're going to start working together. You had said no. Then we went to Clint's because he had said that you needed to start going to kind of help guide me in my walk as a husband and as a man. And you finally went because you had pushed back on that as well.
Yeah.
You know, what made you feel to finally go to meet to Clint's?
Because you didn't start asking.
I mean, he was very persistent on that you needed to be there. I think it was
during that time where I felt like on my heart, like I really wanted to speak into like blended families because of all the transitions that were happening. So I went just to kind of I thought we were just talking about blended families or like our family dynamic. And then you started talking about that and I was like, nope, never. I'm not going to let go of health insurance. I'm not going to stop investing into 401. I think it was just all the money part, which was kind of like the scary part, or just kind of like that work. It's what I've always done. It was my identity in a sense.
Because we have a huge backstory because we didn't get married to our 40s together.
No. Oh yeah.
I was 40.
Yeah.
So I got married at my first time at 40. But so we did have a huge past that a lot of people might not go through, and family members or the way we were raised, that's something that we weren't accustomed to. So we had a lot of growing and understanding. So yes, when Clint did continue to say that she needs to be here because he could only do so much with me, that he needed you to be there so I can become whole because you are my second half.
Right.
And again, I remember that day that he even looked at you and we talked about it and you even told him no.
Yeah.
But do you also remember when we went to the Blended Kingdom Family Conference and again, God gave me a vision right when it was finishing and I saw us on that stage and I didn't say anything till we got into the parking lot of the hotel and I brought it up again. What was your reaction as soon as I brought it up again?
Didn't we start arguing about something?
No, not we.
Me?
You started arguing about it.
I think I said, no, never. I'm not ready. I didn't feel qualified in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big pause. I was like, pause. We caught what was happening, that we just came from this fruitful conference that we snipped it in the butt really quickly as we were walking inside the hotel. We're like, whoa, I know what's happening here. And that's, again, a big part of our story is this constant growth that we essentially we've had some guidance, but a lot of it has been self-discovery between me and you. Hence, again, why I picked this table to be our conversation and host it because, again, so many things have happened here. Again, we're going to touch back on a little of the backstory. And then so people can understand, kind of who we are, who you are, not as just my wife, but who you are in your identity, who you are in a godly woman, like who's Stella Guzman. That is where we're going to kind of dig up a little bit. So in maybe a minute or 30 seconds, give prior to me and you, give something that your history in that small of a window of
Before you?
before me.
Like single mom? Like how far back do you want me to go?
Whatever you feel that got Stella Guzman to this point. What did your past look like? And obviously everybody kind of knows.
I don't even know how to answer that. Okay. Before I met you, I was a single mom. I guess like still trying to heal, or I guess, no, I wasn't coming out. I was already divorced. I think I was just the way I was wired. I was wired. Wired. I think what do you want me to say? Like, I don't know how far back you want me to go. Like work?
Just that, like who was Stella? Everybody knows that you were a blended family. You were married before me.
Yeah.
So maybe a trickle into Stella Lopez, Stella Redondo to Stella Guzman. Like, who were you maybe in your faith? Who were you at that time that, again, you've shed to be who you are today?
I guess long story short, say I was married. Okay, well, first I'll just backstory. I've was in retail for over 23 years. I was married in 2017, divorced, started going to our church, the same church, 2018. Madison was 4 when we started going to church. And we started going to church because it was kind of like my last piece of hope. Oh, it's not supposed to get emotional. And it was just me and her for that long. And I think I was just wired. Everything was just me and Madison. And I did everything that I could. I put us in a bubble. And I had finally found a piece that I didn't want to disrupt. And it was just the way I wired. Everything I did was just for us. The mentality that I had was I needed to protect ourselves, like financially or just with all things and anything that I think it was hard for you to, I think when we started dating, to break that shell down. Cause I was very like, if it doesn't work out, I need to be able to wash my hands of it.
Yeah.
And I remember us having conversations and I had a list of, I'm never going to financially support you. I'm never going to, I had like a list of expectations that you had to meet. And I remember even saying like, if you're not chasing Jesus, then you're like not for me. Cause that was another thing that I wanted to protect. I wanted to protect our walk. She had never heard of Jesus until she started going to Grace Avenue. And that was important to me.
So you're like a protective mama bear.
Yeah. In all sorts of ways, like financially, just in all things. It was just me and her.
And then I come not really strolling along because again, that's a totally different topic as well. That would be an awesome episode for people to really understand. And I say that because when we were at this Blended Kingdom conference, again, I know I'm trickling back a little bit, I look around at everything from where we sit. I notice who was there. And after scanning the crowd, I noticed that there was no Hispanic couples there. Well, 2 Hispanic couples. Us and my brother. And I think there was 1 Black couple. And everybody else was different. And I was like, that's where, again, God really set this on my heart, was like, we need to be up there. Because, again, we speak from where we are as a culture as well. So going back to that, the mama bear mode, and then coming into this, like, what made you finally like let me kind of slide into getting to really know who you were?
I think you had an understanding of my life in a sense. Well, I guess backstory, right? Like you owned the gym that I worked out at. So we were friends, but I think you had an understanding of my walk. I
want to say we're more of acquaintances. We never hung out. There was none of that. I was like kind of acquaintances because we knew who each other were. Yeah, but we never really talked at all.
I think there was an understanding of who I was, my walk, my relationship with Madison's dad, because that was one of the things on the list. We had a healthy co-parenting. That was one of like the stipulations, which it was on my list. Just respecting the relationship that Madison had with her father and that I had with her father. And I think everything, the list that I had, I think you navigated that gracefully and it didn't scare you off.
There's a lot of things on there. Again, for me, like just reading this list, I mean, of course, I never understood like why God put me in the position that He did. But when I was hearing these things from you, I'm like, oh, that's easy. Oh, that's easy too. Oh, this is like elementary stuff. Like, cool, because again, you found somebody that was on your same level and understanding, because essentially, like, you didn't need me and I didn't need you. I could take care of myself.
Yeah,
you could take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And again, that would cause a lot of battles in the beginning of a relationship because
Our relationship.
because being forward, it was like a pissing match.
Yeah.
We're trying to see who can out alpha each other.
Yeah. And I think that was a learning. I think on my part, it's like, okay, you don't have to be alpha all the time. Like,
yeah. I mean, it was very attractive. You're a very strong woman. You still are, but now it looks a little different.
Yeah.
And just navigating that part was, I mean, I can do anything you can do, but I could do it better. Watch me. And again, it was a lot of bumps in the road that, I would even ask you, how much money do you make?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guess what? I'm going to make more than you because you're getting paid salary and I don't get paid salary. So if you get X amount of dollars,
but I think too, I think we had a lot of financial conversations at the beginning that really kind of, I don't know. I felt like you were able to educate me on a lot of the on the money stuff, because that was something that I protected and I hoarded because it was just me and Madison. So it's like anything that I saved kind of just stayed in a savings account, which later I realized was.
And I think, again, when we did our marriage classes, again, I know we're bouncing around, but when we did our marriage classes with Pastor Henry, a lot of the questions he asked were like done.
Yeah.
We talked about this before. He was like, oh, because again, financials is something that a lot of couples don't talk about. And we've had a lot of those conversations at this table.
Our, like, first conversations too, because of the I don't need you.
It was also frameworks. I remember that vividly when that was my first
at church.
First couple of times going to church. I hopped into the framework series that Pastor Daniel was doing, and I just never really understood it. And again, after the framework happened, we went to lunch and we sat at a table and we looked at each other and we said, we're going to talk about all these topics. And if anyone
talked about our non-negotiables.
If any one of these is a no, let's walk away. Like, it's cool. No hard feelings. I know we have some sort of history already, but it's okay because now we have kids involved.
So we went through that list.
Yeah, we went through that list as well. So you gave me two lists. It was the beginning list, you even get to know you in a sense.
Yeah. And then the dating.
Yeah, the dating list.
Was that the list where I gave you an expiration date?
No, that came after. So obviously you give me lots of lists, and I mean, there's a challenge and I do them. So it was the list of just getting to know you. But I also think that it was me not pursuing so heavily because you did say, we enjoyed each other's company. We had mutual friends. We never really hung out. You also said, I don't want a boyfriend. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. Then we'll just enjoy each other's company. And essentially that's how it started. And then one day you told me, you're like, I want a boyfriend. I'm like, wait, you told me you didn't want a boyfriend.
And you better, and you have 1 year to propose.
And I kind of pushed back on that because, again, I was letting you lead. Yeah. And I never understood that side of a relationship because, again, Devin had asked me, what attracted you to Stella, or why did you marry Stella? And my answer was, she was the first woman that brought Jesus into my life. Then anybody else. So that's, again, you brought that godly man out of me. So you helped me, you helped put me in the position God was working the whole time, right? He set certain criteria in you. You prayed and were looking for, XYZ. I happened to fit that. And you were looking into, is this a guy? And then what did Lisa tell you when she kind of heard that you had a little baby crush on me?
She said, no, not Rob. He is not chasing Jesus like you are.
Yeah.
And then Bobby was like, you don't know what God has for him.
Yeah. I mean, so we've taken a lot of twists and turns, right, in our faith walk. And with this blended family, like we had no instructions.
Yeah, but I think too we've been very intentional with every step that we've taken to blend our families.
So when you felt this alphaness, and again, just jumping around, because again, a lot of things have happened within our relationship. When you had to give up, right, the easiest word, that, or surrender that emotional feeling of, just say, financials, because we were walking in the parking lot and you just paused. You looked at me and I was like, what happened? And you said,
that was like a big milestone.
It was.
I was in the parking lot of the gym. And I think it was just after a workout, and I paused and I looked at you and I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I think because at that time you were trying to get me to, we were working on my debt.
I don't remember.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember there was like conversations about what to do with my money. And I remember I paused and I remember saying, okay, I trust you. And you're like, with what? I was like, my money. And he's like, and that was, you were kind of blown away. Like,
absolutely. Like, what do you feel built up to that? Like, what did you see in me, or what did you learn, or like, where did you grab
watcher,
those?
And I think that because your character is so consistent, even before us like dating, and then I think you gave me exposure to like your own financials at that time, that I was kind of like, okay. And then I really did feel like you loved Madison and I, like, not just me. So I think it was the first time that I can say that I was like ready to trust you.
Man. Okay. Well, you're married to me. So yes, a lot of those conversations, again, going back to being very protective. Like, what were your initial thoughts when you're like, man, how is this co-parenting gonna work on Madison's side? Like, what did that look like? Because again, transparency, me and RB were friends.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we were friends, but we weren't like super close friends, but we kind of knew that we were in separate relationships. So when it came to us actually dating, we knew that there was never anything hidden. There was no ill intentions. There was none of that backstory. So it made it easy for us to transition.
But I think you also, I don't know if you remember, you actually called him or he went to the gym to pick up Madison.
Yeah.
And you had a conversation with him, like kind of.
Like it was like, a man-to-man conversation.
Yeah. And I think he respected that. That was a good conversation. And I think that's kind of what was like, even though like he was Madison's dad, but you still, like, that's the respect that I wanted in a man. Because Madison sees that. Madison's going to see, like, she's daddy's little girl, but however both of her dads respond to one another and treat one another, like, that determines on how her future husband is going to treat her.
Absolutely.
And I think that was what I was trying to protect. And I think that conversation kind of just showed him, Madison's dad, and me. I mean, Madison was only probably like 6, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember that one time? I mean, side note, remember that one time we were walking to the parking lot and her friend was there? She's like, yeah, these are my 2 dads. And she gave Madison this look like, and she's like, no, my dads are not gay. This is my stepdad. I have 2 dads, but not those kind of dads.
And I think that because you respect her dad so much and have those there's just, we may not agree with a lot of the things that he does in his life, but there's just this, like, honest transparency, like, love for one another. Like, Madison calls you guys like besties. It's that is what I wanted, and that is kind of.
So coming from that from a male role, female role, navigating mama bear style, like how did you feel transitioning, Rory into your life now that he was even younger. I think he was like
Rory
two and a
was 2,
half.
so like Rory didn't even remember his parents together. So I think that dynamic is very different than Madison's.
Yeah.
So in a sense, like Rory only remembers, like knows
Yeah.
us, like
Obviously he's seen pictures. Eventually he's gonna get older. He's gonna ask questions, but those are a lot of things that again we navigated on our own.
yeah,
At times, I know that we felt left out on a lot of things because we couldn't just hop on the phone and call somebody and be like, "Hey, I got this problem going on. What do I do?" Right? We can get poured into, but then what do we do now? It felt like, and I think I heard it the best was we're asking second we're talking about second family problems, we're getting first family answers.
yeah.
And that's when we're like, that's
It
kind of
was
not
very
gonna
hard to
work.
like dynamic because I think we were still trying to figure out like what boundaries worked for us, right? Because we do have different relationships with both sides of the family, so I don't think not one answer to one of our problems is ever going to be the right ones because there's a bunch of different families like
It changes
in the
every
mix,
30
and
seconds, or
yeah.
even faster than that. But going back to Stella Guzman,
Oh yeah.
how did it feel when I brought it to your attention? Like, I understand that you're alpha and I love it and I enjoy it. The boss lady, you're like the queen of La Cantera, and you were known as the mini boss. Stella Stern, we're doing all these things. But when I asked you, you know what, you can wear that jacket and I love it. But as soon as you walk through these doors, that jacket needs to come off. What went through your head when I started bringing
You
up?
don't tell me what to do.
What did those emotions feel like? Now,
I don't think I understood it like at the beginning because we get married, blend the families. Like I'm still having to get adjusted to that. It's not just us. It's 2 sets of parents, us. There's a lot of like moving parts that I don't think I fully understood what it is to surrender it or to give up my alphaness until less than a year ago.
yeah, because again, we had conversations. So that word surrender, or I'll
But
go.
maybe because I'm like 42 and it was just a hard shell to like break through.
And
I
again,
think,
with very independent, right? These days, independent woman, like you say anything in that realm, you didn't take it as I was taking away your identity, taking away your alphaness, belittling you, making you feel less. It was, oh, like he gets it. He supports me. He understands. But it also took me a while. It took me a lot of growing just to even understand any of those
yeah.
things. So I'll go one step further and I'll use a word that again just drives people wild these days. Submit.
Oh gosh.
Right? When we read biblicals and we're like, a woman is supposed to submit to their man. And then everyone goes, wow, like, how dare you? I'm not asking you. I mean, I do love sandwiches. But that was one of your listings, right? I can clean, but I don't cook.
Yeah.
So, and I was okay with it. I mean, you clean
I
like
still don't
you
cook.
clean like no other.
I can cook
Your
basic stuff, but
cooking skills have been getting better. We rate you these days, me and Maddie and Rory. Long
just
as
add salsa to it. You'll be fine.
So when I started bringing those things up, but what I really noted and what really stuck out to me was, yes, the surrendering part, and it could poke at a lot of women. But before I even finished my sentence, I also added that I also need to gain your respect, right? You have to respect me as well as a man, as a godly man, as your husband, not just because we're married. Like, I have to respect you. It's still earned, right? What do you?
Yeah, I don't know. Respect just sounds. I don't know. I will stick with like to fully trust you to like.
Okay,
take care of
you
me.
had to fully trust me in that aspect to be able to surrender. We'll call it like 37 years of your life or 38 years of your life prior to even knowing that I existed.
Well, I think it's like a mindset shift, right? I think you were very. I think you gave me a lot of grace and time to.
It was 3 to 5 business days just to get answers from you.
Yeah, I remember being like I remember getting into a fight and I not wanting to talk. I was a tiff, not wanting to talk about it. And you sat me down on both ends and you're like, we're going to talk about it. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah. And that's again where this table is very important to us in that
We
aspect.
talked it out and that was 27 minutes.
I was like, in that aspect of really understanding like conversations that have happened on this table, when it came to those tough ones and it came to really putting aside what you knew and kind of going into this pivoting into this and grasping this new identity, I guess you can say, of what life could look like as, again, a power couple, let's say within the church or things like that.
What? No, I think just you sitting me down kind of just made me realize like you're not supposed to go 3 to 5 days without talking to your husband. You're supposed to talk things out and not sweep them under the rug. Like that's what I learned from that. And I think at first you'd try to get it out of me, but it's like I couldn't process like what I was thinking. But I think with time I learned that you talk things out when there's tension. But yeah, I think it took a lot of hard conversations to like, Stella, this is not supposed to be like this.
What made you accept those kind of conversations? Like being not open, but I did have to sit you down and you listened when you could have just got up and
because I knew
walked
your
away.
heart. Like I knew your heart. Like I knew that it was like a me issue. I knew that it was my wall.
What were some key points in your growth from the day that we met till when we got married, or even to now? Like what is continuously like feeding you, like pouring into you that you're like, you know what, I need to continue growing and also continue to have that trust in me when it comes to decisions that we're making and things like that for our family.
I don't understand your question.
What's keeping you intact and growing and being open to a lot of these things that we do, and like what feeds you, what drives you? Like, is it, our one could be our consistency in church. It could be any, like
us?
Just our marriage right now. Yes, we can talk again about a lot of things, but our marriage continues to grow each and every day.
Yeah, but I also think like right now our life looks different. Like I went from working full time, juggling a bunch of different things to like not working.
Yeah.
So I think life now looks a little different. I think it's just getting acclimated to that. So it's growth in the whole new sense of like, how do I at this desire on my heart to spend more time with the kids and with you. So it's like, now it's like, okay, how can I be a better wife and a better mother? How can I be more invested into family?
That transition piece, when you felt, I believe it was freedom, because we took freedom at the same time.
No. What are you talking about? When I got the desire?
Correct.
No, it came after our fast last year. It came in February. And then we were like, we talked about it and you're like, okay, 8 months or no, you said, Stella, you're not supposed to retire until 5 years.
We had a 5-year plan.
We've done the calculations for 5 years. And I remember crying, thinking that I was crazy. And I'm like, no, I can't wait 5 years. Like I'm going to lose Madison in 5 years because she's, going into middle school. And that was my thing. Like, I don't want to lose her in the most important years of a little girl's life. Like like that's kind of what was on me. And I'm here and I was getting off of work and I was having to like leave work early just to miss traffic just to meet you at jiu-jitsu because I couldn't even do
after swim, basketball, soccer.
But that desire came after last year's fast. And then you're like, nope, 5 years. And then I remember like it was an emotional, I don't cry and I couldn't stop crying. and I loved what I did. I loved my boss. I loved, it was who I thought I was. I
Yeah.
had built so many years of building a name for myself, and I was ready to be like, and I thought that was crazy because I remember saying and telling you I'm never gonna not work.
I remember the day when you got upset at me during COVID when Lucky got sold and you cried. I'm like, why are you crying? It's just a job. And it was like wrath coming for you. And I really hurt your feelings because, again, that was part of your identity. And I kind of just pushed it along to the side because of how I felt when what happened with me when I got
you've
laid
always
off.
had an entrepreneur mindset. Like I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be able to leave work at work, which was really never the case. But
Yeah, look what you're doing.
anyhow, so that 5-year plan, then you were like, no, in 8 months, because we did calculations again. And right after that desire, we were able to pay off our house.
Yep.
So we became completely financially free. And I remember you saying like, okay, it's time, you can stop working. And I'm just like, are you sure? Like, are you sure we're going to be fine? And then I remember that was just kind of a season like penny, where I was like in what I call like penny puncher mode. Like, I'm going to save. And I was able to step out of work 4 months after, no, 3 months after that, because my last day was Madison's last day of the 5th grade.
Yeah, because it came so fast because we said 5-year plan. Then it turned into 8 months.
Yeah.
Then he hit me with 4 months. So I really had
I
to
remember
step
coming
back.
with you with a spreadsheet and saying, because you live by spreadsheets and Google Sheets and all the things. So I came to you
Math
with
don't lie,
like,
people do.
like our bill, like our, you know, like
Yeah.
the stuff that you need to live off of. And what I thought, you know, just this whole spreadsheet. And I was like 4 months. And I remember you saying like, okay.
Yeah, because again, I digested it and I was like, there's no way. Because it was 5 years. 8 months? Okay. Then it turned into 4. And I remember like, God, I know it's you.
But you know,
who am I to say no? All right.
We hadn't even
let's do it.
planned to like, yes, we wanted to pay the house off early and we had been doing like extra payments. And you're like, okay, if we send this every 2 weeks and it knocks this, yada, yada, the interest rate, whatever you do. And then we were blessed to be able to pay it off soon after
What
that.
do we also have to do? We had to give up things that we loved. I loved my motorcycles, sold them.
Yeah.
You had to give up that Jeep.
Yeah.
The money pit. And you're like, nope, I'm not getting rid of my Jeep. And then
that was even like Madison had a complete like breakdown because at that time it was like change was like hard for her. So getting rid of a Jeep was an attachment to like the past. But anyway, yeah, 3 months later and God's provided.
So speeding that, going from
So I'm to your question, I'm learning a whole new life. And I think it was hard adjusting. I think not being around people was probably the hardest piece. But I think I felt like I was stripped from my identity, and that had to happen so that I can really know who I am in God.
I think there was a lot of growth from us, especially in the beginning. And again, my role as
it made me a better wife, though, right?
Yeah, my role as your husband,
not
not
so
a
much
better cooker,
alphaness,
but your alphaness is still there because you still go into.
I do.
Even with what I'm wearing now and how I'm sitting, and I'm not supposed to be doing this, and even telling Brandon what to do over here. But when, again, we're sitting in Clint's office, and I brought this to your attention.
Oh, and I started a new business. And that was exactly what I had said in that office is I'm not going to work. And then he's like, I think y'all would work great together, like entrepreneurship. And I was like, absolutely not. No. And I remember even leaving like mad. Like, why would you even think that I would want to be an entrepreneur? I would never want to. Like, and it's like everything that I fought and went against, like,
because
happened 2 years later.
I saw it and I felt it. God just really highlighted those things to me over and over, but it was the structure that you create your own structure now. And when I was stepping out with the gym, right? I lost the building of the gym. So that was a
You
blessing.
lost a business.
Yeah, I lost the business. It was a blessing in disguise, driving 15 hours in a snowstorm.
When you got the news.
That's another conversation when I got the news and the email, and I had a 15-hour thought process.
But like nothing phases you, like
because
you've
it wasn't
been an
about me.
entrepreneur for so long. For me, the transition of like when you started your entrepreneurship, you didn't have a family. So I think to me, it's like, well, I'm the only one with health insurance for the kids. How are we going to navigate?
So we learned
that?
about health insurance.
Right. What's going to happen to our 401k? Like when we get older and, you know, start taking money out. Like those were all the things that were stuck in my brain or had a hold on me, really, because, you know, I idolized money in a sense.
When those things happened, especially during COVID, like we didn't sit around and let's say drink all day or do whatever. Like we brought our gym equipment inside. We would watch a show.
How did you just go to COVID?
Well, because it had to go with like, how did this shift even change? I mean, how did this shift even happen? Like all these things. Like there was a lot of buildup to be able to be like, God positioned us. Like, cool, step out. And again, 5 years to 8 months to 4 months. That's super huge.
God has gone before us and kind of created the way, and we've been obedient in our walk. But
I did a lot of learning in financials during COVID.
Yeah, you did.
I would stay up late and do classes over and over.
You were, what is it?
That's
what are you? A financial coach? You
master financial coach.
Yeah.
But I really utilized that time because, again, it was like God put me forward and he's like, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. So
you're just wired that way.
It's like
time for the kids. Like we get to go on walks and see the butterflies. Like,
yeah, no butterflies for me. It was like really time to dive deep because, again, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
We needed to create our own economy.
It's the way your brain works. Mine didn't work like that then.
Yeah. So when I started building that up, I vividly remember when I had saved all this, chunk of change for this consulting, for a lifestyle. Started to write a book. And I had this excess money because I didn't know what it was going to cost to write a book.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was going to cost for marketing, to do all these things. Then you asked me, did God sit on your heart to you to be a creator? We didn't know what even that looked like. And then I brought up, I've always wanted a laser. And you just ran with it.
I'm still kind of surprised that I was able to learn all that software. It still kind of blows my mind.
So when I brought that up, you were the one now that did all the work.
Yeah.
I just threw the seed out there. You watered it. You tended to it. But again, business, you need capital. And when I said, okay, I'll front it, but I can't front all of it because I don't know what this is going to cost and that's going to cost. And it made me nervous. I remember talking to Roby at the Lowe's parking lot on the phone. And I was like, bro, I think God just punched me in the face. And also talking to Raul because Raul was this money that I saved that I thought was for me. It wasn't. It was for both of us. And I was being like, I had a hard time going to Lowe's every single day and building this office from scratch.
Money.
Because
again, or not your money, but the money that was saved for.
Correct. And that office was supposed to be mine. I started again on this table.
Yeah.
Moved to the corner. Then the bunny took my office. Then I didn't have an office.
Yeah.
I built your office. I was going to move in there. Then it became yours because you were in our, living room doing your laser thing. And it was like, no, this was never meant for me. It was meant for you. I was just that bridge of that grit and that willingness to support you in your vision and all these things. So how's that going? How has it been transitioning from all those years being at Lock and Terra, from when it was built, you being alpha, you having structure, to now you get to structure your day and you created your own business. How was all that?
I think creating my day was kind of probably the hardest thing, like not having a structure, not having the normal, like commute to work, 8 to 5, being able to like actually have to get up and like start working and then break up my day to go pick up the kids, which sometimes makes the day, I think just trying to find a flow in what my new day looks like is I've gotten better, but it was a struggle at the beginning. I mean, the business went well.
What's going well?
The
Making an
machines
amazing
have
thing?
the machines have paid for themselves already, and my laptop.
Soon to be my laptop.
Yeah. So I like that I get to build it as big as I want, and I could still take step back and work less when I need to.
But what steps did you take for yourself? So when you have to, everybody has to work on themselves, right? Everyone says you work on your marriage, work on your marriage. Absolutely. Work being a mom, work being a dad, work as a family. But you have to make sure that you take care of yourself as well. How do you do that throughout the day? And how do you continue to feed yourself when you're by yourself and you have no adults to talk to? It's you and the bunny. Like, what do you do for yourself to continue that drive?
I don't know what you're asking. Like, what do I listen to? Like, I listen to podcasts. I'm shredding right now.
Yeah. What motivates you to do? Because those machines
I don't want to go back to work. That's what motivates me. I want to be. No,
you don't want to go back to the I don't want to go world.
Back to the corporate world.
Yeah,
that's what motivates me. And I think just being able to create or like make things like is like rewarding.
Do you remember saying this?
That I'm not creative.
You also said that.
Yeah.
You are, because you went to you went to like creative night and like you did all these good, amazing things with everybody for church. But no, a lot of awesome conversation is that could we talk at night before we go to sleep?
Yeah.
And you said, I never thought the impossible was possible with the pieces that I had of my life. It was something along those lines. But what made that bring out? What made you feel that emotion of like this impossible thing that I only dreamt of or whatever that you felt that's possible now? Like what made you like release that?
I sit in a lot of gratitude now. Like I can see how God moved within or how he's moved almost like in every step. And I know that the season that we're in is a complete God thing.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I thought that I never wanted, but not till on the first day of the fast of this year. I told you that someone Rita posted something on Instagram and it said, what has God revealed to you? What has God restored that you thought was lost or the enemy had stolen? And in that moment, I started crying in Carline. Again, I don't cry. I've become very tenderhearted these days. But in that moment, I got this picture and it was me crying at my desk when I worked at BCBG. So it's 12 years ago when I had to go back to work after maternity leave.
Oh, yeah.
And I was crying at my desk at Lock and Terra, just at another store, crying and wanting to be home and thinking that the life, like I would never have that life. Mm-hmm. I would never have the opportunity to stay home. And I almost forgot that I ever wanted that. Because it was so far gone. Yeah. So to be able to I almost feel like God gave me the desire of my heart 12 years later. So now I just sit in gratitude. God, I get to I don't know. To me, it's my mom was home with me during middle school, but she didn't make that transition. She made that transition, but it wasn't until I became a rebel. I was bad. And then my dad was okay, Alicia,
is that maybe why you wanted to stay home?
Because I don't want medicine to get bad. I don't want her. Not that, but it's I was always on the go where I felt like I wasn't even in tune. I didn't know who her friends were. I want to pick her up and get the tea from school. I want to be the mom that takes her and her friends to the mall. I want to be the mom that
still go to the mall.
I don't know. Well, right now they do. They have to go find Victorian dresses. To the costume store. But I want to be able to say yes versus no because I'm tired. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I did that for so long and that's completely fine. But I don't know. There's
Yeah.
I
So
just
when I decided, right, to have you on here with me, because again, you're not a co-host. You're here as a guest. And when I told people that, they're like, no way. You're gonna put your wife on there? Like, bro, you better watch out. But again,
nervous.
it was more of a you're an extension of me, right? All the things that I know, that knowledge gets poured onto you daily. And sometimes you're like, please stop talking. Because again, I have all this knowledge to dump. And sometimes it's like, I
Well,
just
I
want
would say,
you.
please stop talking when I was working. Now I want you to talk to me because I don't talk to a lot of
Because before we
adults.
got to here
So
right now,
now I have all the
you wanted to
questions.
talk and I didn't want to talk.
Yeah. Now you can dump all that knowledge on me and I'm ready.
You
But
ready to receive it?
maybe.
Maybe kind of sometimes.
Your brain's like a
So
Rolodex.
just this constant learning that you've been going through, we'll talk about some fun stuff. One thing that we do as a couple, again, a blended family has been a blessing in disguise, if
Yeah.
we want to call it that. But again, it comes with a lot of work, a lot of hard work. It's not easy, and it's a
Is
constant
this the fun stuff?
every single day. Get in there. We get to connect and spend sometimes a lot of time together. At times because it's just me and you, and that's when
Yeah.
we get to get away to our mini vacations. And again, that's where you do you. I do all the financial stuff. You hop on and you find us places to go, and we really get to connect. And that's a blessing. That
We're not
again, a blessing in
rich. We
disguise.
travel with
Correct. We are
with points.
we're ballers on the budget. And again, we just really I learned to read the fine print that nobody wants to read,
Yeah.
and I took, if you want to call it, I learned to play the game. I know you don't want to call it a game, but just learn to
Let's not encourage credit
yeah,
cards.
that avenue. Yes, do not do it because again, I can start a fire and it's not a trash can fire. It's
Yeah.
a huge fire that again, you really have to be responsible within yourself.
Okay, what are you getting into? Now you're
How you enjoying
You're
the fun
like-
stuff, right? Because again, we're going through all these different avenues, but the fact that we get to enjoy each other's time.
I think we're intentional with the time that we spend with each other. So it might not be date nights, but we try to go somewhere
We don't
once
have
a
lot of
month.
date nights, right?
No, that's
We have date
because
vacations.
I think it's I don't know. Yeah, date vacations. I don't know. Date nights, I feel like we've tried those, but there's so many moving pieces that sometimes it's just hard.
Yeah.
We have date days sometimes.
We have date days. We're just big planners, right? We have a Google Calendar schedule. So again, we learn to feed off it. So that
Just felt
structure
really old.
that structure looks different to you now, right? Having a 9 to 5 schedule. You knew when you worked. I never saw you in October to the end of December or January. I never saw you.
Yeah.
I was like a single dad. I washed and dried.
Oh my
And
gosh.
And I was a school bus driver and Uber because that was your Super Bowl.
You did, yeah. You did all the pickups, all the afternoon stuff.
Yeah, and because I knew it was important to you because again, it was,
but then it got to a point where I kind of, do you remember? I'm like, I told you that I was like jealous. I was jealous of you because I was
mad at me for no reason.
I got mad and you're like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm jealous and I'm starting to resent you. And you're like, why? I was like, because you have time. You have time. You have time. I don't have time.
But now that you're here and you see, and again, remember when I told you, I was like, I've been doing this for so long that when you leave at 7 or 8 o'clock, you don't know what happens, what the magic elves do. You just get back and the house looks the same.
Yeah.
And most of the time I made it a huge mess. I just picked up where you didn't notice. I got to take naps. So I was like, you know what? You're not messing with my naps. Just let me be. And it took you a while because I was take naps and you're like,
I would get so mad.
Get up. You need to be doing something. I'm like,
as I remember, I'd come home and inspect the pillows on the couch.
There's an indention on there. So I would have to be strategic.
I think it was just because I wanted time. And I couldn't between work and, my commute to work is kind of far. Yeah. And then just with the kids were involved and I just felt like I was always missing something.
You didn't even drive anywhere. Actually, I think your driving got worse because you don't drive a lot anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
Yeah, throw it out there. So it was those points that got us to where we're here today, right? The conversations, the courageous conversations that nobody wants to talk about. We always continue to build faith as our foundation. We do have financial talks. We went from having financial talks almost every day. Then it went to every week, every 2 weeks, and
Yep.
every month. And now we have financial talks on the 23rd, which is, when I have my what? Today.
No, a spreadsheet gets
tomorrow.
filled out on the 23rd. The conversation comes after.
Yeah. So we talk about our financials. We
Sad
started
that
working
Madison
out.
even knows that.
We started working out again together. We
Yeah.
used to kind of work out together. Then for a long time, we never did, here and there. Now we get to enjoy each other's company.
I don't know if it's
Well, yeah.
enjoying each other's company,
You
but
don't enjoy it. I do. You just don't want to do what I tell you to do. Which again, but we get to.
I like working out with you.
No, you don't. We get this because I don't talk. I don't talk like that with. You have fun with Lisa, but just really diving into those things of who we are as a blended family, who we are as a couple, who we are as individuals. So that's what I really wanted to have you on here, was so people can see and get to know who you are now, that you're not in those big roles. Now you're in a big role. It just looks different.
Yeah.
And that's why I really wanted to have you on here, so people can hear it from you and see and really absorb your knowledge and the things that you know, and just the constant pivoting. So I'm proud of you that everything you've done, the business that you created, of who you're becoming. And of course, I enjoy our vacations as always. Or I get burned in the sun, and I just go along and say yes. So I know you love my yeses. So those were
Thanks, babe.
the things that I really felt that needed to be said, because again, we want other couples to know that they're also not alone, especially if they're blended families, because we're finding out there's more blended families that we know that we even thought.
Mm-hmm.
And we could just be that little conversation piece that, hey, they had those conversations. Why can't we do that? So that's why I really wanted to get to know that. I know this can be a series, and a lot of things it possibly could be a series.
I don't know about that.
And talk about each thing individual, because I know we're going to have questions. So if you have questions,
ask him.
ask me, and then we'll get into that, because I'll bring Brandon back in here and we'll just do this all over again. But thank you for taking the time to sit down. Thank you for your yes.
Oh,
because 2 years ago,
nice.
you would have not had a yes.
Yeah.
It would have been a fight.
You almost got, I think you got to know why we canceled one time. Cause I'm like,
no, you canceled more than once. Brandon was about to cancel on me. He's like, bro, you need to get your girl in check. Because you didn't cancel on me.
He did not say that. He's a man of God. He would never.
It was actually funnier. One day we'll have Brandon say what he really said. But thank you for sitting down and telling Guzman is.